you. A very good afternoon to everybody in the world, except Greg Abbott, as usual. Hi, how are you guys? How are we doing? As per usual, I'm not gonna, yeah, fuck it. You could just be like, hey, what's up? I got my, booster today. That's why I'm late, but we're not gonna worry about me. We're gonna worry about Art. Hi. What's up? I actually need to take that off. Thank you. It's actually one of my favorite shirts. Got a little Trey Ishbian. And then it's got an EXE. Yeah, booster after the second shot. So I'm at risk because I have heart and lung complications, Niv. So I qualify currently for a booster shot with Moderna. So I just went to CVS and was like, hey, can I get my booster? And they're like, yeah. So I was like, cool. And then Max also got his because even though he's not immunocompromised or otherwise, he's technically my caretaker, which means that he also needs to be vaccinated and kept up to date with vaccinations. So he also got vaccinated. So we're probably going to feel like shit in a couple hours. I literally went to go do this and then come back and I was like, oh god, I gotta stream. And I turned my computer on and hit go. So, hi. So, as per usual, did anyone actually have trouble with this Doodlefort? First and foremost, I'm curious. It was an extremely hard one, but it seemed like one that a lot of people were unsure of, so to speak. Oh no, wait a minute. Okay, let's not unplug my fucking tablet today. No, you didn't have to give me references. You didn't need to show me references. But if you use them, I like to know what they are so I can show you the ways that you may not have used the reference properly. In a lot of cases, the references aren't needed. But, I mean, you should be interested in using references, period. But, having to post them or whatever was not required. It was just preferred if possible. And it's okay if you didn't have any. Is my pen just not wanting to work today? No, it's on a different monitor because my thing got unplugged, right? Joy. I love when this happens. My freaking favorite. Alright. You're fine, Mimic. So, this month, it was been a month or so, we did dynamic poses. Now, can you tell me what constitutes a dynamic pose? Do you know, chat? This is the question of the day. Do you know what a dynamic pose is or what constitutes something being dynamic? Let's just go with this. Pose needs to follow line of action. That is a very good way to put it, but not always the case. So basically what constitutes a line of dynamic pose is if you can convey in some way movement, right? So it's less about wanting to show off the line of action, even though the line of action is a very good way to use it. It basically wants to show off movement, so to speak. So the reality is that this would be more dynamic than this is, and then even just saying if Deer was standing back like this and he was just sticky leggy out and like his line of action was like that more than it being straight, then that would be more dynamic than the first one. So keeping that in mind, and keeping in mind the wording that we're using, that we're saying line of action and we're saying the word dynamic poses as well. Let's jump in. Does anyone want to go first? A couple things before we start. Hi Jordy. There are some things that would be helpful to know, okay? One of those is line of action. And a line of action basically means it can be a line from head, generally to toe, that just shows what direction your action is taking. All of these are fantastic for what we're looking for, sort of thing. You could have a person like leaning this way if you wanted and being like, oh, or someone like crouching over, sort of thing, or even someone like, and we'll probably get into this, having like a leg bent and an arm up maybe, and something to like that effect. There could be a lot of different options basically, but a line of action is something that can help you in drawing in the long run, and actually is extremely helpful if it's the first fucking thing you draw. This is probably the best example of a line of action. An imaginary line extending through the main action of the figure. Plan your figure first and details it, then build over that. Basically, it's saying put in the line of action and then figure it out from there. So this is fine, but this has so much more movement behind it, it makes more sense, right? So you wind up having this line of action that makes it so that you can work around what you're needing to build. So like, let's say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a dynamic pose real quick. Let's just say, wow, I love not being able to think off the top of my head. That's fantastic. Spider-Man, sure. Okay, so let's go with generic, like this. All right, so what if we went and had a leg here, had a leg here, had like torso here, head here, and now we have like this really nice line of action following this way, and then wow, it's Spider-Man. Yeah, it can absolutely also be entirely stylized, 100%. You can also have different lines of action. It doesn't have to be that single one. You can easily have one line of action here for the arms, one for the legs, and one for the body, and go from there. And that tends to lean into what is known as the bean method. What is the bean method? Bean method basically shows you how to draw a torso in a very easy way by also giving it a stylized version of movement. That literally just means you take a bean and that's your torso. That's literally your torso. And then, woo! That's my torso, woohoo! But then my leggy's this way, and like, woo! It's a very easy fucking way to draw torsos and figure out how to deal with drawing torsos and in movement. And then of course, like, you would refine it out and stuff and go from there, right? It's another Spider-Man! There you go! We're all beans here, yeah. Everybody gets one, just one bean. So I would actually say if you had trouble with this, I would actually say learning and just practicing this exact shape in different forms will help beyond measure, really. Honestly. It'll do way more than you think it does. Also, I'll read that in just 2 seconds. And just like getting used to like drawing that sort of style of shape and then being able to render everything down and being like, okay, well, hip bones, stomach, spine, head would be like here, arm, leg, so on and so forth. Helps a lot is what I'm getting at. Also, real quick, Sam Gober, thank you for the follow. 8 hours ago. Mimic, thank you for the Prime for 13 whole months. That is almost a year. Wow, it's been almost a whole year. Roddy, thank you for the tier 1 for 8 whole months. That's many months, and you almost have baby. What will you name baby? So keep in mind just your lines of action, which are generally like these kinds of shapes. So like a C, or like a backward C, or whatever. This, or like, so you have like your normal C, right? Your less dramatic C, and then just sort of like lines. Like these are all decent lines of action. And then work out how you want your torso to go from there. So in that same aspect, so you go, okay, well, why can't I have like a torso and I just like draw their arm going up? Why is this not dynamic? And the answer is because you just lifted your fucking arm. What the fuck are you doing? The reality is that when you lift your arm, your skin folds and stretches, and things happen with your body other than just like, ooh, I lifted my fucking arm. Like, that's not really how it works. When you're trying to show motion, you need to show that the entire body is coming along with it. In that sense of, because you lifted this arm, this entire shoulder and muscle structure would go with it. That gives it its movement. You're stretching your arm out further. Yeah, you can just lift your arm, but like if you're wanting to be more dynamic, then you need to do stretching and pulling of different muscles to make it seem like the entire body is coming with it. That would be the difference between someone just being like, ooh, hi, I have my hand here. Hi, what's up? I'm person A. And then person B is like, actually, what if instead, he's not touching his butt, don't worry about that. What if actually instead we were like this, and then like the whole body and hand and everything were like reaching out and shit, and like, wow, it's almost like giving it actual movement, and oh my gosh. That's what I'm getting at. Like, comparatively, having one person just kind of reaching out to someone actually stretching and making the motions of having movement in their, one sec, sorry. I hate when that happens. Actually having like movement in their body, so to speak. Yeah, you can have the person just reaching, but at the same time, that's not going to show nearly the movement you think it's going to. Does that make sense? And any questions? Also, these are some really good examples I found of line of action. There are probably examples all over the fucking internet of line of action, but this is just a really good one I found. I especially like this one because I'm pretty sure we're using this exact pose later, so I'm gonna save that for later. One other thing, chat, what is one of the main things that I keep telling y'all to do? And I'll give you a hint. It's a form of direction and movement and doing things, and like, ooh, you gotta hold on. You gotta number 1 victory royale. Fortnite, you got to go down. Anyway, think when we drop, push. Thank you, Mimic. Yes, you guys need to fucking push your shit constantly. You seriously need to push your shit. And I found another really good example of this in the sense of like talking about line of action and stuff. And this was a really good example of that, about how like, yeah, this works fine, but it could be so much fucking better. It could be so much better. You're fine, Nov. So, yes, that's a line of action, but this is so much stronger of a line of action, comparatively. So, like, this current line of action is from here to here. And that's fine, but this is this line of action. And this one reads so nicely comparatively. I would maybe argue that, like, I would bring her up some because her face right over the fucking pot seems a little bit weird, but that's just my personal preference. But the point is that if you can push your poses, being dynamic and things like that will start to come second fucking hand, right? It works all the fucking time. Well, no, I would actually argue that this one reads fine because the silhouette... Here, hold on. Fuck it. So we have... basically... this as your silhouette, and silhouettes will help a lot to show like what kind of pose you basically have. Comparatively, like, I think this is fine, but it just can be better, you know. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, if you can tell what something is from very far away, like, all fucking power to you. You did fantastically. You're absolutely right, Niv. Sorry, I read that wrong. So again, push your fucking shit, guys. Push it so hard that you may as well be given birth. Like, come on, you got this. I believe in you. If you guys push something too far, I will tell you, okay? But just try to push it really hard, at least once or twice, and see what you can come up with. Okay, did anybody want to go first at all? And pump it. Okay, yeah. Niv will go second. Whammon. Okay, you got this, Whammon. You're fine. Okay. Whammon, you gave me two things. And I actually, this was the exact pose that I was going to look at. Hilariously. And you also gave me references, which thank you for that. Again, you don't need to give me references, but I prefer them. It's very helpful. Where the fuck did this... Where the fuck did it go? Heck. I had the fucking ballet image up and I was like, I want to keep this because I specifically want to talk about it. And now it's gone. God damn it. Ah. Oh, this sucks. Oh, this sucks. Heck. Listen, I'm secretly, you don't know, I'm secretly Canadian. No, wasn't this? Line of action. Pure ref? Was it this? Nope. Nope. Shit. Fuck. Is it this? Nope, I've lost it. I've lost it forever. Alright, cool. RIP to that one image that I had. Which is extremely helpful for your teacher to lose the notes that they took. Okay, so what, other than, I'm just going to point out that you had a few anatomy things, okay? And one thing I would actually say is to try to make sure the measurements of things are right? So with the soccer player, this was kind of the one I noticed it the most. If you go in here, and you go whoop, and you zoom in, and you go and take this line, all right? You should see that from here to here should be about the same length as there to there, okay? So just keep that in mind, that those two lines are those lengths, all right? So those are about the same of what we're looking for. Oh, not B. B would not be helpful right now. Okay. So then, in that case, that means that from here to here should be longer from here to here, right? In that same perspective. So it's about here. So now we're running into the fact that we realize, oh, okay, well that's not long enough. So we run into our problem. So that's something you ever see in movies, okay? When artists do this thing and they're like, that sort of thing, and you're like, what the fuck are they doing? I don't really understand, right? This is actually measuring. So I can go and like look at my finger and be like, okay, well from here to here is about this long on my drawing. And then I realize that actually with my poster in the background that y'all can't see, sorry, it's about the same length. So if I were drawing, you know, from here to here, I would be like, okay, well this needs to be the same length as this. And it doesn't come up. Hold on. And it comes up in the sense of like, okay, well we're gonna go in at a basic length and be like, okay, from her crotch to about here is that leg. And from her crotch to there is about the same. All right. So I was eyeing from here to here and then from here to here. And those should be about the same lengths. Problem being is those are not the same lengths. Okay. So just something to keep in mind for like your basic sort of studying ideas is to just keep your measurements correct. And then once you get done with that, I would go over and draw something yourself. Does that make sense? Yeah, she's a little squashed, but it's okay. It's very common to do a squash. Let's see. This one has a little bit of a longer leg here, but I think it was because you sort of just kept in mind that her legs were right next to each other, when in reality her legs were more like that when you look at them from like the back sort of thing. Like hers was further back here. It was more here and here compared to where you had it, where it was like there, if that makes sense. Okay, so on to the point that I would like to make is, how do we make a pose more dynamic than it already is, right? And the reality is if you're just drawing from reference, you're not going to get a whole lot of dynamic poses. Have you ever seen, and you probably have in your life, right? Someone who's just traced a photo, okay? So you just take a photo, you trace it, and then you're just like, I know how to draw. I drew this. And everyone's like, yeah, no, you fucking didn't, because it's very obvious. And aside from a couple reasons, one of the main reasons is because photos are dynamic when we see them, because we know that's how human bodies work. But when a person is drawing that body, it doesn't register as well, because it's not literally photographic, so to speak. Even if you did extremely realistic painting, it's not the fucking same, okay? Especially if we get into just like, it feels like there's more of an arch here than there is here, even if this was absolutely 100% traced. And so you go, okay, well then how do I make this more dynamic? Well, the first thing is you would want to make it probably fluid. And in that case, I would say try to avoid angles in that sense. So I would first say, like, maybe have this sort of line and this instead of the, like, more right angles that you were given. I think this leg is fine for the most part. It basically follows that line of action, which is fine. You could have pointed this toe a little bit more, I think, to just like push it a little bit, even if it wasn't exactly what your reference had given you, so to speak. And then I think actually this being a straight leg is fine, just because your line of action is actually this more than anything. And because of that, I might even say that we move this arm back some, so then it becomes part of the line of action. Well, no, everybody does, Lyman. Until taught otherwise, like, everybody does. That's how people draw. That's how I fucking draw. I'm still not great at this, and yet I'm the one teaching. You know? So now we have this really nice line of action that goes all the way down. And follows that entire sort of motion of going this way. So then the question is we need to just figure out what the other line of actions are, right? And the answer to that would just be, well, probably about the same, actually. Meaning that this arm could probably go farther back a little bit. In fact, you could even, like, just keep this arm fairly straight. I would maybe give it a little bit of whatever you're needing to. And then I could even say, like, that sort of thing might work, where you have this leg bent in a little bit more. Because again, we're just pushing poses, right? All we're trying to do is make things more dynamic than they already are, or fixing the issues that we do happen to have. So here's a weird one. What's our line of action with this guy? And yes, chat, I'm asking you. If it was the right knee up to the head, then we would have this. Left arm to right arm? Actually, yes. So our actual line of action is this. And you can have a horizontal line of action. That's fine. Because this is literally just a straight line. And I would actually argue that it would be better to have this be a second curve included into everything that we already have, which in this case would basically mean that I would maybe just use a little bit of perspective and maybe make, here, we'll use the actual example. Okay. This is getting kind of extreme. Yes, just a little bit. But the point is that we're trying to sit here and make this a little bit more dynamic, right? So now we have a line from here over to here instead of it just being the straight sort of, yeah. Yeah, well, you can draw the pose directly. That's the thing. But then go back over and do it again and do it with pushing everything that you've already learned, right? So if you go in and you draw this entire pose, that's fine. But then the next thing you do is you go, okay, well, I would like this sort of pose actually comparatively, and then you use this as reference. You go, okay, well, there's this muscle here, and then and you're still trying to keep this line of action that you're trying to build on. Does that make sense? So you can draw from it, but then just use that later to teach yourself the things that you're wanting to do. It's the same as like the shrimp method, right? Because you're literally just like, I'm gonna draw a shrimp, and you're like, hee. And then you go in and you literally trace photos and then draw a shrimp again because you're using what you were just taught. So if you're drawing straight from reference, you're learning more so anatomy and structure. And then you go back in and you go, okay, well, now that I've figured out the anatomy and structure of shit, let's go in and fucking make it cool. Right? There's literally no harm in doing things once or twice. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 9 times. Which, honestly, is something I'm still learning. But, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Do it as many times as you want. Never post art again. Only do sketches. And then when you do post art, it'll be the best fucking thing anyone's ever seen. It'll be fantastic. Amazing. I would not erase your work, actually. I would keep it. But that's also just me. I would actually say keep it. Keep your sketches. Just keep like a sketchbook, or keep a folder that you call a sketchbook. You know? No, yeah, same women. Very much same. So, any questions other than that? Sorry. Yes. Oh, thank you.
Oh, see, she's doing dynamic poses too.
That leg thing you did, is that what foreshortening is? Technically, yes. If you mean this leg thing, yes, that's technically what foreshortening is. Because originally, it looked like that, and now it doesn't. That's a really, really jank way to do foreshortening, but yes, technically that's a way to do foreshortening.
Lunch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so. Niv, you said you wanted to go next. So, we have Genist. And my first question is where is the line of action? Sorry, one sec. I forgot to fucking add my food. I did like 0.5 for today. So, God, that's a lot of protein. Anyway. Yeah. So, I would actually say I don't know. I know what the line of action is meant to be, but it's hard to kind of see. For me, it's this. Basically. That's kind of what I wind up seeing. Alright. So, in that case, we go, alright, well, he's doing a Spider-Man? Well, yeah, a little bit. A little bit. But the point is that you could also push it farther, so to speak, and give yourself a stronger line of action. Well, yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to find a good front-facing run line of action. In most cases, runs are usually depicted from the side. So, 2 seconds. So, okay, that's a decent one, I suppose. No, that's not. Frick! Fucking people. Okay. So, the more common thing that I would say would maybe be like extending this leg out. So then your line of action now just continues down, so to speak. And it's a really common, actually, line of action that people use. You'll see it in a lot of like jogging work. This is a pretty good example of the exact pose that every fucking jogger's ever made ever. I think it's partially the arms that kind of throw me out because of the foreshortening on this and like how large this hand is comparatively. So I guess if you wanted to keep this leg, right, what you could easily do is just have this leg come down, and so it continues the line of action there. And yeah, it's a little bit silly, but it's continuing the pose, so to speak. So we wind up with like this sort of thing, and then his leg is like back here. And then you could also just like tilt his head like a little bit more. And now we have a line of action that goes all the way down, so to speak, right? And okay, you don't have to do like that leg, so to speak. Like, let's say you still would really like this leg to be the one, and that's fine. You just have to bring that leg forward, and then that leg comes back, and you have more of that line of action. Yeah. With the pose that you went with is fine, but it would work better from a side view, if that makes sense. Because you're going to wind up with, like, this pose, which is fine, but it has a more of a line of action if you're seeing it from the side, whereas from the front, everything just kind of seems a little bit scrunched up, so to speak. I also think tilting the head is a decent option, just because, you know, you have only so much revealed about him, so why not tilt the head and make the eyes more something to focus on? Any questions? A lot of these will be pretty easy to get through, personally. It won't be too bad. Well, no, I kind of figured out, like, how so it's literally person, leg forward to run, right? Leg down and back. Yeah. And then this arm is forward, and then this arm is under it, and he's like that. Regardless of in-story reason what he's doing, you have to think of it from a non-story perspective, basically. I mean, that's great, but you have to think of it from a non-story perspective, right? And so this would be fine, right? I feel like if it was from the side view, but it really just depends on like your positioning of the body as well as what action you're doing for how you should show that off in an illustrative sense. Because yeah, you can draw someone running straight towards you, but then it might look like shit, and at that same time, like, why do that when you could, I mean, it might look fine, but you could also draw someone, like, doing, like, this shit and, like, really fucking booking it, and that line of action comes back, you know, actually it'd be more like that. And that line of action fucking comes back and you'd be like, wow, they're going so fucking fast. Yeah. So it's just trying to pick the best position and pose for the illustration you're wanting to do. You know, it's okay if you don't show every single part of a character. You don't have to draw a character facing forward every fucking time you do a character illustration. It's okay. You don't got to do that. You don't need to make the character look pretty every fucking time you draw them. It's boring and dull, and it could be so much better. And you just need to keep in mind, you know, all these things that you've done to make this character look so attractive. And they can still be attractive, just, you know, in different poses. Nothing's going to change how attractive they are. That's why I literally love drawing myself with, like, a fucking snarly fucking grimace and, like, giant bags under my eye. And that's just, like, peak character design, honestly. Because fuck being pretty. Anyway. Alright. Draw less pretty things. If there's anything to take away from today, is just draw things that are less pretty. They don't have to be perfect. Draw someone shitting on the toilet. Who cares? I don't give a fuck. Do it. Okay, who would like to go third? People are gross and disgusting in real life. We shit and fart and piss and vomit, and human bodies are extremely fucking gross and weird, and just embrace that shit, man. Just be like, yeah, no, we're weird and gross and ugh. And just accept it and draw whatever the fuck you want. Who cares? Gotcha. I can imagine. Alright. Mimic also gave us references, which, good references, personally. Good reference board. So why... This is sort of a generic Sonic pose, and Sonic is very easy to make a dynamic pose. Why is this not dynamic, and why could this be more dynamic? This is such a good reference. Oh my fucking god. You see what I mean about the foreshortening to make things look more dynamic? Hell yes. Perfect. Perfect. A fucking plus. You did it. Good job. A plus 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 to this artist, and also for using this reference. Dynamic poses equal movement. Not always. They imply a little bit of movement, but not always like full body movement. You can have a dynamic standing pose. You didn't push the poses? That would be part of it. So currently, I would actually argue that this is her pose, her line of action currently. So here, let me see if I can't just edit around yours and see if I can't make it more. And then let's do like, oop, gotta get that in there. And then boop. That's a little bit a lot, but I think it's okay. I want to say it's okay. I think her head should be a little bit bigger. So now we have a line of action doing that, comparatively. Okay, so why, that actually should be, one sec. Why did me just changing some small shit basically make this more dynamic? This one probably even go in further. Okay, so now we have this, right? Which the leg was pushed more, this one was brought in so that there's more stretch and flow. Yes. So squash and stretch, as per usual, is the bane of y'all's existence. But for the most part, using it to your advantage can make a pose go from, nah, it's alright, to, I actually don't mind how big that foot was, because it's just sort of an example, to pushing it farther and basically giving the character more of a cocky sort of expression. Because if you have, this is just a really common trope, if your chest is out and pushing forward, you're cocky as shit. Like, that's just a design thing. It's just one of the tropes that work. Is if you're pushing out, if you're puffing up your chest or whatever, you're cocky. And that generally is because, in most cases, it's usually a guy and sexism and whatever in media. It's fine. Anyway, so if you have that same sort of style character, but it's a girl, she's still being cocky, right? I mean, I of course would say don't break anatomy, you know, by any fucking standard, but like, just try to push things in ways that you maybe didn't consider beforehand. As well as if she's leaning back, there would be a fairly, like, kind of straight edge over here. Because all of her body is stretching up this way and is creasing that way. So you have a little bend right here, and you have a stretch here. Which, another decent tip is to... another decent tip is to use straight lines in conjunction with angles, right? Or at least, like, curved lines. So, in the sense that, like, you're going to draw this more curved, then the other side has straight lines in order to sort of combat that. So you have a straight line on this side, and you have less straight lines on this side. You have bent up here, you have more of a straight, like, open line this side. It's not perfectly straight by any means, but it's not a fucking angle, right? Basically making things non-symmetrical to some extent is very helpful. So, very generic Sonic pose. Very good Sonic, but very generic Sonic pose. Why is he not as dynamic as he could be? Also, thank you for using a mid-tone gray as your background. You could probably have gone a little bit lighter, but I think it's fine. He's got bendy-ass legs. You know? Why you gotta have angles in your legs? Motherfucker's a cartoon. Why does he gotta have these goddamn angles in him legs? Right? What the fuck these angles doing? Who put these angles here? I don't even understand. I think there's something to be done about this arm, by the way, but I don't fully know what it is. And so I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. But what if, hear me out, you already have like this big ass fucking shoe, right? What if that shoe was tiny? What if that shoe tiny and then it looked like him run? What if that shoe tiny and then it looked like him run? Who chopped all these angles on the floor? I would actually also say it would be kind of smart to have this leg be your front leg, just because it gives more sense to the shape, because it's the one that's forward. But that's just, you know, a preference thing. So now we have that. I mean, yeah, but that's... No, they're fine. Because you can take... Yeah, no, they're fine. So if he's holding the... Yeah, that's fine. It'd be like that. Yeah, and then the other hand is behind him and would be... The thumb would be fine. Because you can have your arm back and your thumb be on the outside. So... I would actually maybe say just like continuing that whole trend of fucking noodles. Just give everybody noodles. Just do noodles. Noodles the noodles. No, that's fine. That's something I question myself a lot. That's more than fine. Also, what if you just did... You know, just like some of this. What if you did some of that? And then also... Okay, maybe not that dramatic. Jesus. Dear, what the fuck are you doing? Anyone know what the fuck I'm doing? Even I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, to be fair. But that's beside the point. So now, he's fucking running. You know? Because his fucking... Yeah, he's making him zoom. His quills are being blown back in the wind. His ears are also being blown back in the wind. You could even potentially have, this is gonna be kind of gross, but like chili flying off of this hot dog, and it would give more of an impression of speed. So in the regards of how do we make him go fast, you just do that. That's an option. And no, it is not just blurring. It is legitimately just like trying your best to push the character as far as possible. I would also argue it might be worth it to actually make his arm maybe a little bit longer and not cover up his face. Because I know his arms are a little bit longer than what we've given him, but just as a thought. Because again, if you can easily like pick out the silhouette of what you've got from far away, you've done a great job. Okay, Does that make sense as to why I did the things that I did? Okay. Any questions from anybody about anything related to art, preferably? Side note, completely off topic. Streamlabs sent me a fucking email about monthly tipping recently, and I was just like, that's cool, but I don't know. It was just, I don't know. So, okay. Who? That's how your dad, but I got to check from you. I got an email from them. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird choice. It's a weird choice, really. I think they're trying to take over basically like Patreon and OnlyFans and stuff because they need to cover all their bases. Anyway, who wants to go next? We have Cahill, Goose, Jordy, and Saps. Who want to go next? And if nobody speaks up, we'll just pick someone. Alright. So, I know exactly what pose this is. 2 seconds. Let me go pull up a ref. It is the Gay Blade scene. I just need to fucking find it. Is it the Gay Blade scene? Okay, so a couple things. You did, yes please, you did try to give a decent line of action, right? You did, but the reality is that it's kind of just there. You wound up not foreshortening some things that maybe might have needed it, and you wound up with just a kind of stiff pose in that sense, because your foreshortening wound up a lot to imagination, when the reality is that you would see like his shoulders and his arms and things like that. So, okay, how do you fix it? Well, for one, decide what your line of action is, and let's say we want to do more of this, right? You go, all right. So then in that case, you can also just post it in Doodlefort, by the way, if you want. Thank you. Yep, that was the pose. This pose is fine in a video game sense because it's, you know, moving. It's still got action and movement all on its own because it is moving in a video game. But again, it's an illustration. It's not the same. Comparing an illustration to a movie is not gonna work out for you no matter how many times you try. So we go, all right. I would actually say maybe consider having his torso more like this, and having a very obvious, like, here's where his shoulder connects, and so on and so forth, so you have a place to go in and do your foreshortening. And then you also would have the ability to move this a little bit further down, because you don't really see a whole lot of this upper shoulder as much as you do here. So I would still maybe move that in, whatever. The hand doesn't matter. Why am I trying to draw a hand? Don't draw a hand right now. It's not fucking worth it. All right. And then we move on to legs. So right now we have a really rough angle. And the most basic cure for that is literally just to bring this leg in more so it follows this line of action. And then you could also bring this leg out a little bit more than what it was and have it also follow that line of action. So we now have... Hold on. We now have... And don't be afraid to like turn things and move them as you need. There's no harm in that at all. You tried really easily, or not easily, you tried really hard, and that's very obvious, to get exactly what your ref showed you. But the issue is that the ref was not a ref that would wind up working for you in the sense of what you needed it to do. This is a little bit boob butt pose, but I don't really care, because more men should do boob butt pose, but it's whatever. Okay, so now we have a more dramatic line of action where it's going down this way, and then you also actually have a line of action there. So you get 2 for the price of 1. Wowie. This is, of course, a really bad sketch. I would not use this as reference. I'm just saying that, like, it works to kind of show you what we're trying to go for comparatively. And, of course, if you don't want to do a boob butt pose, you could always, you know, swap the legs. And we basically turned him, like, this direction. If, let's say we were like this, right? We basically turned him like 35 degrees. So, because you can now basically see like shoulder blades, a little bit of that booty, etc., etc. Oh, it's raining, I think. That'd be a yes, it is raining.
Really interesting.
Okay, so any questions as to why we did the things we did and or why this does not work as a dynamic pose technically? He's like, oh. Yeah, he does have the booty, and he should show it off, really. Actually, a really good example of like a dynamic pose would be his original art. Now that I think about it, comparatively. Oh god.
It's original.
Because his line of action is literally right there. So it's very good, in my opinion. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions or anything about anything I've talked about so far, or the current piece, or anything at all? Okay. I kind of figured this would be a pretty quick Doodlefort, because it's just like, this is why this bad. Fixed it, moving on. There's gonna be a lot of that. Okay. Last 3, who wants to go? Da, 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 da. All right, so Jordy, I think you took dramatic as dynamic when that's not what I meant. And that's okay. I understand. And so a dynamic pose will be different from a dramatic pose. A dynamic pose shows motion, things like that. And so if we were to ask what was the line of action in this, I would say that it is a straight line. Very much so. Maybe it's a K. And you go, okay, well, how do we fix it? And the answer is, well, a lot of it comes from just, like we said, kind of trying to figure out your line of action before you wound up drawing, for the most part. Straight legs kind of tend to be a no-no if you're really trying to do some dynamic motion. So in that case, I would say maybe consider, like, let's see, how ridiculous do we want to be? Because I know you draw a lot of chibi, so I'm trying to think of how to interact with that. Also, I'm hiding under a shirt. What, do you need to notify someone, Sabs? Also, don't hide under your shirt, you're fine. Okay. So, a chibi, right, is literally just a small person. In most cases. Usually, depending on how you draw them, this person with very, very big head, usually, right? The reality of it is that you should still consider all those bones to be in the body, even when drawing chibi. That does not excuse, you know, not having joints, for the most part. And it's just something to keep in mind. So in that case, we need to keep in mind maybe... I'm trying to think without just making it a dab what I feel like doing with this. Because that's one of those things, right? That like, for me to try to fix... I don't want to say fix because that's not the... To try to help something, if I'm going to redraw over it, I need to know what pose I'm looking for, and I haven't thought about this recently because I've been at the freaking gym and I just have not thought about anything. So, okay. What if... So y'all know the emote Dear by Panic, right? Dear by Panic. Did you know that that has a line of action, which is pretty much this? And Deer is probably a very easy way to show lines of action. So what if... Okay. The easiest way would be probably to move the body back. Again, with the whole beam method that I'm trying to show you guys now. So this would be the torso. So now... we have a line of action going this way, and then we have, fuck it. And it's not a lot. What the fuck is that? 2 seconds. Okay. So that's kind of what I mean when I say that, like, poses can be simple and still give off movement, right? Because you still have this going on. Sorry. This sort of thing going on. But it's just trying to make sure that, yeah, exactly. It's just trying to make sure that the pose in question, you know, displays that pretty easily. I would also say just for, like, this pose in general to maybe just not worry so much about things overlapping, and don't worry about it, even if you don't think it looks pretty or whatever, to have like folds in your body. Hi, Sar, can you give me a fucking minute? Because we're at least in Doodlefort. You could have waited until an actual stream. Fucking shit. And if you say, hey, I don't fucking know what poses are, I don't know how to make dynamic poses, here you go. Here's a website just for you. Called Ami. Because 9 out of 10 times, poses on this fucking model website, anime fucking figures, are dynamic as shit. Not always, you know, but in most cases, yes, they are. Also, Sar, thank you for the tier 1 subs to Muddiest Path, Amp Jolteon, Stachi Snecky, a Sharpest Insight in Chinology. Fucking asshole. Thank you all much for the tier 1 for 11 months. It's many months. Stop. We're supposed to be in class, goddammit. Ami-Ami's great. If you really fucking just need an anime ass pose, search Ami-Ami. Just, it's fantastic. Another good one, I think, is Pose Muse. Is a pretty good one. They have a lot of wind up having a lot of books that are fan-fucking-tastic. They also have a Tumblr that helps a lot, like these. Maybe not the bottom two, but the top two are fan-frickin-tastic. Oh yeah, the Crunchyroll store, Crunchyroll store also is really good. Just anime fucking figurines in general. They're meant to be dynamic in most cases. So just copy those poses if you can't think of anything. Any questions at all, Jordy? Also, at some point, I want to sit down with you and try to develop your style past what you currently have. Just because I know that you have a lot there that you like want to work with, and I know you want to get better. And so it would just literally take practice in seeing what you're comfortable with. Because I know going from like this to being like, let's draw like a real ass human is fucking daunting. And you're just like, hey. But at the same time, you know, it's just about like, what are you comfortable with? Hey. Anyway. Yeah, you're fucking, I'm gonna put you both in fucking detention or some shit. I don't know. Anyway. So, Cahill, Sabs, one of you, who wants to go? If either of you are here. And if not, I'm just gonna fucking pick one of you. Because I know Sabs, I know you're fucking here. I saw you earlier. I don't know about Cahill. I don't understand people who can... Okay, Sabs. I don't understand people who can draw animals first, like realistic fucking animals. Because like, oh my god, have you ever tried drawing an animal? It's so fucking hard! It's so fucking hard! Oh, okay. So, I actually think you probably had some of the more dynamic poses of everybody. Specifically, this one. This one's great. This one's fantastic. You literally bunched up the muscles, you put a curve in the back, and gave it everything it needed to be the dynamic pose it needed to be. Yes, you fucking asshole! I don't know so much about this one. I think this one could be pushed, but I think this one is probably your worst out of all of them, if that makes sense. Just because you have like this very A-frame kind of body. I mean, I remember I used to draw, oh my god. Yeah, let's talk about baby deer for 2 seconds. I used to draw horses, and I remember that I used to tell myself, this is how you draw horses. And then you'd be like, this, and you would draw ears, and honestly, that's not terrible. But like, That's not what horses look like at all. Ah. Anyway, if you're wondering, horses have like a more specifically like small. There's different proportions to horses is what I'm getting at. But like I apparently am still a-okay at drawing horses. I'm not terrible at it. Apparently, my years of drawing furries has apparently helped. Oh my god, I can still draw a fucking horse, kind of. Jesus. Oh god. Anyway. So, I think this is probably your weakest one. Okay. General reminder. I would say try to not have dark backgrounds. Your light environment works for it, but I would just say while practicing, try not to. But I think you're fine otherwise. So, okay, how do we make this more dynamic? And, well, you already kind of have this sort of thing going on because your body twists, right? And if you don't know what the line of action is, a really good idea of where to start is your spine. It's literally a line that goes from here to here in your back, right? Well, I think you did okay because your light environment fits it. Like everything's very dark and glowing and there's like very strong shadows, but it's just when you're practicing, right? So, okay, how do we make this more dynamic then, right? And I would actually argue bringing this leg here and this leg over here would make it fantastic, in my opinion. Because then you have that sort of line of action. Or, alternatively, you have that. It's not going to be completely dynamic because there's not a whole lot of motion to it, but I think both of these work as an option, so to speak, and gives like that nice sort of curve to the body. I think you also probably could have maybe lifted the arm more here, and so you would have given yourself this sort of thing. So it's more in the face, but you still have like that nice curve to it. And then again, we wind up with like this sort of shape, and you still very much so have like your shoulders bent, which good job, this shoulder needs to be higher than this one. You have your head, you know, muzzle. And now we have like this very obvious. Also, feel free to use your tail. Your tail can be a continuous version of that line of action. You know that, right? Because it's literally just an extension of your spine. So you very easily could do one of these and then continue that line of action all the way down. Instead of having it like have to wrap around here. I don't know how long their tail is. Even a short tail would be fine. But I'm just letting you know that you can also use the tail to help define that line of action. Okay, does that make sense why that works over what we have? I would actually maybe say take this leg and maybe bring it a little bit further back than what you have. And then this one a little bit forward. So you have like almost fucking model-esque walk. And the hips are more like this. Okay. Any questions from anybody else? Here, let me... Just, if you feel like screenshotting anything at all. We only have one more to go. which is pretty nice. Okay, so Spider-Man. He does everything a spider can. So why is this only kind of thematic or dramatic or dynamic? Wow, thematic, dramatic, dynamic. I need to learn words. He thwip. It's true, he do thwip, but why is it not so dynamic? Hi, Kyle. Foreshortening? Not so much. The angle of the body. Yeah. So this pretty much is just this to me. And we come into the same issue as we had with Niv, right? Where it was very much so just kind of a... Yeah, the back leg is a little bit off. I understand what it's supposed to be doing. Like, there's supposed to be a shoe here. But for what we're trying to do, it could be pushed better. Yeah. So if we have this leg up, why does this leg need to be up? And if you want both legs up, why do we have this weird sort of like spiral thing going on? So, okay, let's say you want to keep both legs up. Okay, that's fine. How do other people do it? Because, you know, we are talking about Spider-Man, right? So there's obviously, like, references and things. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, okay. Really good example. This. 100% this. Which has both legs and both arms working in that sort of dynamic sort of style, even though the torso's line of action isn't so much the important thing. Okay. And then those really aren't fantastic. And then you have like one leg up, one leg down, one leg foreshortened, basically trying to keep in that symmetry sort of thing. So we go, okay. So what if you want to keep both legs up, what if he was just, you know, like that? What would be the harm of him having both legs up towards him to be more aerodynamic, you know? And then you could easily get the line of action to be more of this, because you're going to be drawing the legs pointing in to some extent, and having the torso have, again, the bean sort of thing, where you're just continuing to follow that sort of line. Yeah, I kind of figured other people did. Okay, so let's say we don't want to bring both legs up. That's fine. What if we still want one leg bent, one leg not? Alright, well, what if you had one leg bent a whole lot, right? And then one leg bent only a little bit. Okay. So now you have this sort of angle where it still is coming down into this other leg, or even still following, like his legs are still following that line of action, but him having his leg up here doesn't help us. So now we have this going on. And then what you could easily do is bring this arm forward, and then wow, it's a line of action. Wowee. Shocking. Okay. So the second thing being, why is it that if we take out this, let's say, that doesn't read as a line of action? Dang it. Freaking dang it. Dang old tablet. Being dang old dumb. Give me just 2 seconds. Is the laser obscured? Nope. You should be able to have a line of action even without legs. So, okay. So let's put it this way. This one is foreshortening and coming towards you. And then this one is going off in its own fucking direction. Okay? So if we were to say this way, and this way, like XYZ axis, basically, right? So this one would basically be coming towards you, and this one would be going off this way. All right? Them dang angles. It's them dangles. You're right. It's actually them dangled angles. So what if you just did this? You know, he could just hang out and have, you know, another arm just hanging out. And all right, well, let's say he's whipping away to go, you know, this direction, right? So, all right, fine. Let's say he's moving his arm forward. I'm gonna make this smaller real quick. So I go, okay, well then why is it curving out this way? What you would want, probably, is this arm probably going down, because he would be moving towards the peak of his jump, right? So to speak, because you would need the most momentum possible, so he would probably lift himself up, even though that's not physically possible, but we're not going to worry about it. And we did this sort of thing. So then now you have a line of action that's on. And again, we're trying to make sure that the shoulders interact with it the same way that our bodies do. So I'm lifting up this shoulder and I'm lowering this one. Okay. Does that make sense as to why we did the things that we did? Comparatively. Because we now have a line of action that does this with his arms. It's 100% about angles. It's almost always about angles. You know, it's pretty much just being like, I don't understand why I'm so stiff, and when like my legs are like at a 90-degree angle. It's just like, well, that's why. So, any questions about anything at all? Because we are done with Doodlefort, and I want to know if y'all have any questions at all. Also, the thing that was put in Doodle Stash, the SpongeBob stuff, A+, A freaking plus. Did everyone have fun? I hope so. All right. Well, then in that case, we can pick. You're fine. The next thing to do, which will be in September, but also I would like to make sure it's not on Max's birthday next month. So let's open a straw poll real quick. Name some shit you want to do. Chat, what do you want to draw? What do you want to learn? What do you feel like doing? Once a month or so. There's usually about a month or more between Doodleforts, so you have a good amount of time to usually do them. Oh, one other fucking thing. Y'all start giving out critiques. Seriously. Stop telling people that their things look nice or good or whatever and then like leaving it at that in Doodlefort chat. Stop fucking doing that. Okay? I think someone said it the other day. Oh shit, you right though. Yeah, but I'd probably leave that for October. Well, so there's a difference between being nice and giving critique, right? The main thing that we have to keep in mind is that people are coming into Doodlefort to ask for help. You guys have been with me for almost 2 years now. Doodlefort's been going on for 2 years. There's VODs up of all the stuff from this last year. Practice it, preach it, help other people. I don't want to see any more people not giving critiques or not, you know, I'm gonna do this. Not giving critiques or not feeling like they can, you know, add anything to it. Positive criticism over praise is 100% what we need. If you guys want art to just be praised, that's what the fridge is for. Just to show off what you made and to be proud of it and to get compliments or whatever. It's not what Doodlefort's for. Never has been, never will be. Now I understand the need to be like, this looks great, and then going, but this part over here does not. That's how you're supposed to critique people. Is it's a fucking sandwich. You do one good, then one bad, then one good. Or if you need to, you do another bad and then you do another good. Or you reiterate what you said in the first place. That's just how it fucking works. But at this point, if someone posts something in Doodlefort, try to help them with it. Even if you don't think you can. Take into consideration what everybody else is also saying. If you think something looks weird and you think, oh, it's probably the light environment, and everybody's like, actually it's anatomy, go, oh, I guess it's anatomy, but that was weird that the light environment looked weird to me, so I'm just gonna mention that. But also I'm gonna also mention, like, everyone else is saying anatomy and now I understand why, and now that I look back at it, it makes sense. Does that make sense? Give me some more shit to do for next month. I'll probably do the 25th. Probably the 25th. Liquids is a good one. Even I suck at liquids. Give me like one more. I need like one more. You know, you're not wrong. That was something we were talking about. All right, so as per usual, you can vote on as many things as you want. Please vote on as many things as you want to do, because that's the only way we're going to get actual results. If everybody voted for one fucking thing, that's not really how it works. So remember, you can vote for multiple things. I'm not even going to show you what the fuck I voted for. And then we're going to wait and see real quick. Give it a second, because everything's got 2 votes or 1 vote. Vote in that shit. We'll be back in Doodlefort on the 25th. Okay. I will be back on Monday. I feel like there was something about Monday that I needed to deal with. I can't remember what it was. Which is not great. But if anything comes up, I'll just put it in the announcements channel. But Dither and I should be back to playing Chicory on Monday. I don't know. I don't know how long we have to beat it or anything. But okay, that is not how I thought that would go. I don't know how long we have to beat it. It shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, you should. That's one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, you should just, you should practice it. I will figure out how to make animals a thing. I believe we've done before, like chimera hybrids and like how to do animal studies for skulls and things. I don't know if we've ever just practiced one animal. Might be that. All right. Y'all have, I think Gamma streaming? Yeah, Gamma streaming. Oh god, he's playing Murder by Numbers, so we fucking literally have to raid him. Yeah, we do. Okay. I'm gonna go send y'all off to Gam, and I'll be back on Monday. So, I hope you guys... What animal has a bunch of different textures? Emus? Birds, mostly? Some fish? Things like that. Y'all go say hi to Gim and just ask him if he's winning. That's all I want you to do, is just be like, are you winning, son? That's all I need. Because Gam is my son. Platypus? Yeah, kinda. Well, only kinda. Anyway, y'all have... Dogs with mange. Y'all have a great... Pup time, no! Y'all have a great one. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Good night, guys. Goodbye.